Night King is coming.
The dead are already here.
What do we say to the God of Death?
Not today.
I'm going to go now.
Hello, all the geek enthusiasts, nerd aficionados, and those that survived the massacre of Battle of Winterfell. This is the TV Talks spoiler podcast. That means spoilers are completely allowed to be talked about. If you don't want to hear spoilers about the episode, don't watch this cast until after you've watched the episode, because we are not holding anything back. We're going to talk about everything that happened on season 8, episode 3 of Game of Thrones, The Long Night. I was going to have people guess what the name was, but we had to get together to figure out what the actual name was of it. So you have me, Mess5150, with my Night King shirt from the Hall H panel a couple years ago at San Diego Comic-Con. Along with us, we have Ian's, or Icy Zorro.
That works. Whatever. I'm not exactly trying to hide my name. People can probably...
No, yeah. But Icy Zorro's on the cast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy to get to talk to this so soon with people.
We also have from our regular Walking Dead cast. So this is the core crew from the Walking Dead cast. You have Icy Zorro, me, and Mrs. Malice is here on the cast. So welcome, Mrs. Malice.
Hi. And the funny thing is, I think we drop each other's names in the Walking Dead series all
constantly.
The time anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly. We also have Kristen joining us in the chat room saying this is the most stressful episode yet. I think it's going to be the most stressful episode, period, because there's no more walkers, but we'll find out. We also have joining us from the Malice Smack Talk Wrestling Podcast, a Bearded Master's back for the Game of Thrones reaction cast. How goes it, sir?
It goes well. I'm glad I can actually talk about this tonight rather than having to wait 4 days after Endgame.
Yeah. And lastly, she's kind of roams all over the place. She's been here on the Game of Thrones cast. She's on the All Things Nerd podcast every Friday. Super Hoovian Freak joins us as well.
I know. What an episode.
Awesome.
The excitement is just flowing.
Succinct.
It's going to come.
I like it.
As you guys know, I usually write notes down for scene by scene, but this episode, you can't really go. That's what I'm doing. You can't go scene by scene.
There weren't exactly acts in this particular episode.
Yeah.
You were on your seat and then roast into this episode, I'd have to say. I definitely was.
So this impactful episode, crazy episode. I mean, it took, what'd they say, 55 days to film this.
The outside, just the outside.
55 days of night shoots in the snow.
And this is the longest battle
television episode.
Yeah,
this is the movie filming.
Well, this is the longest battle in TV or film history. So really quick reactions. What'd you guys think of the episode?
Whatever.
Okay.
I'm not going to be so coy about it. This thing was freaking awesome. I loved every damn thing about it. It was
I had
nonstop.
one reaction. No! Yes!
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I got a lot of thoughts. We'll get into them.
Yeah, a lot of thoughts.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, did anyone at the very beginning, remember when we were talking about it last week? I don't remember who it was on the cast that said it, but they were like, I'm going to be so mad if I get that moment in in the Helm's Deep where we're talking about the guy runs through with the thing.
That was
and
you.
Blows up. I got that feeling, but completely opposite. So you got the drama, everyone's like, burn the beacons, burn the whatever, they were
light the trenches.
And then she's slowly walking out, but the soldiers are all lined up. I'm like, dude, this is totally Helm's Deep, but completely opposite. I loved it. Yeah.
So we got a couple chatters in the chat room. That's why we do this live, so that people can come react to it with us. BTP Mind Freak from the cast as well is here. Jack says he'll say the first part. The beginning of the episode was so dark, and that's the
Yeah.
So I mean, when it began, I'm watching it and I'm watching them follow Sam with the camera, and then they go to Tyrion, and I'm like, dude, it's video camera relay racing right now. They're like just passing the baton.
It was like trying to get each of their stories before the battle. Like, what were they doing before?
It was kind of cool, the whole roaming shot, how it was like going around to all the different...
And the aerial shots up from the top, all of getting the point of view from the people that were on the wall just above. That was awesome.
The interesting thing was how long that first sequence was in terms of the silence, just really showing
like 10 minutes of nothing.
It was intense.
Yeah.
Facial expressions.
It was build-up.
Yeah.
Worth it. Worth it.
Because the only dialogue I remember is Melisandre doing the spell, right?
Well, she came in. So yeah, Melisandre shows up willy-nilly, just like
she rode from the direction of the White Walkers.
Exactly. That's the crazy. Like how?
Yeah, why? Where'd you come from?
How?
I don't know. Just to have a cool shot.
Maybe.
I mean, does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because they showed one solitary object approaching them from the direction of the White Walkers, and I was like, are they sending one of the actual walkers out to like
negotiate?
Was it gonna be like?
Oh no, it's the red woman. Yeah. Everybody, your pants.
And again, that was totally done for build-up, just to get you hyped for what was happening. And she let the swords on fire. You're like, yeah.
That was an amazing shot.
Jack says that the silence shows the fact that war is 99% boredom and 1% pure terror.
Yeah.
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 It's good representation. Yeah.
But yeah, she comes and she lights up all the Dothraki's blades on fire, which is like, okay, this is cool. This is cool now.
That was an amazing shot. It was like setting off a sequence of fireworks. Like, awesome.
And then when they show up from the top of the wall, everything just turns red, and it was like, oh, okay, shit's about to go down. Here we go.
I kind of expected her to go back to the Unsullied and do the same with their spears, but she did not.
No.
Well, I mean, as Bearded Master just said, shit's about to go down, and things definitely went down when that happened. Was the end of the Dothraki. There are no more Dothraki, I believe, at this point. Yep.
And it happened so quick. It was just like I was expecting a little bit more, and it was just like converge and go, and I was like, oh.
It was Monty Python-esque. It was like, yeah, get him. Yeah.
I had like a South Park the cartoon kind of feeling where it was like Operation Deathraki. The Dothraki in first.
I'm reminded of the South Park movie Operation that I don't want to name.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah. So, but I'm changing the name to Operation Deathraki.
I approve.
And watching the swords go out was like kind of sad and depressing because he was like, they're dying. Stop dying.
Not only that, but then like their battle cries just started getting silenced as well, and you're like, okay, so the entire species, all of them are gone now, or they're gonna come back? And I was surprised that they didn't. I was expecting them all to come back as walkers, coming back after that movie.
I mean, they kind of did. We saw some of them.
Oh, they were just walking. They were walking back.
True.
Well, we got like 12 Dothraki running back and like 6 horses, and you're like, oh crap, this is not going to go well.
Well, when you send a medium-sized group of men towards a swarm, I'm not going to call them a horde, but a swarm of undead zombies, yeah.
Well, you're sending them into a total black hole too. You couldn't see anything that was over on the side.
Well, and Jack points out in the chat, like, this is terrible tactics. You don't send the cavalry out first into something you can't even see. They're mobile, and it's been said in books, and I think the show too. Like, they're the finest mounted troops in all of the world.
But there were so few of them in comparison. Yeah, it was bad. I think honestly it was done for drama. It was done to show the lighting of the swords and then the boom to reinforce that terror of, oh crap, like
Yeah.
They
Well,
were the pure sacrificial lambs of this episode. That's exactly what they were here for.
And as a plot device to take them away from Jon and Dany's army when they have to face, when they have to go back down south. They're not going to have the Dothraki now.
But
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, they still have the Unsullied, I think.
They've got like a third, maybe a quarter.
their tactics weren't smart at all. 'Cause
No.
you think about it.
No, the
Jon
tech. This is the
all
thing.
forward.
What this showed was the kick in the pants that Dany needed to show that she's not as high and mighty as she thinks she is.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, absolutely. There was terror on her face in some of those scenes.
This is technically, isn't this the first time she's really lost since Drogon, or since her husband died?
I
She's-
think this is, I
Yeah,
think
she's
this
been
is
on
the
a
first time
win
we've seen her
streak.
actually fight, too.
Yeah.
Fight hand to hand, yeah.
it brings up, but they have one dragon, and we don't know if Drogon's dead.
Well, no.
No,
Dany and Jon still have 2 dragons. They're both.
Yeah, they still have 2.
as far as we know.
Because Rhaegal just was like, I'm gonna take a nap, like dropped off John and just like crashed into the ground and was like, I'm just gonna take a nap.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of the dragons and tactics, I was wondering, they have the dragons. They have Drogon and Rhaegal strafing the lines with fire.
Mhm.
Why didn't they send the dragons out first? If you know generally where the enemy is, even if you can't see them, send those dragons over there and start just blasting fire into the ground.
Well, not even
of them.
that. Once they lit up the trenches with the fire there, why didn't they come in afterwards with the dragons and light everyone who's just standing still right there?
Exactly. I agree with that. I would feel that same way.
Burn all the dead bodies. It's like what I say in the Walking Dead cast. Have everyone as you go. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I mean, amongst this whole like first battle type of thing, and seeing what's going on when Dany came, great line from Jon where like the Night King is coming, and Dany's like, the dead are already here.
Yeah.
This is worthless for us to stay here, especially when we have the fire.
Yeah, exactly. The
So-
fact that that surprised me. The fact that they weren't already mounted up and ready to go when they were needed. It was like, what are you standing there watching for?
It's the equivalent of when you're watching like an action movie and the bad guys line up to fight the good guys one at a time, even though the good guys surrounded, except it was the opposite way around. It was like, hey, we've got this whole giant castle. Let's stand out in front of it and send like one troop of people at a time.
That always works.
And okay, so when it looks like they're starting to get kind of the lead with things, with flying the dragons around, burning out the walkers, and they start going towards the army. Did the Night King, was he able to make that ice storm that came up, or was it just like
I
great
think
time?
so.
No, I think
think it was
because he
him.
looked back and it's like he like called it forward.
Yeah. It was just
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, you bring the fire, I bring the ice.
Yeah, I think the implication was that he conjured up some sort of like deep fog ice storm thing.
Well, and it wasn't even the fire because like at that point he had just made eye contact with Jon, so he saw him coming in, and then that's when all of a sudden the storm came out. Like it was like, okay, you're gonna come down, I'm gonna blind you right now, and you can't see nothing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because they saw the generals just standing there at the tree line, and then all of a sudden the storm just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, on the note of riding dragons, I'm kind of surprised, shocked even that they haven't figured out some way to rig a saddle up on those things or straps. Because you see Jon and Dany riding these things in battle, and apparently they're just controlling them by like bending their spines or whatever. But it's like riding a horse bareback.
No, they're basically just holding on for dear life. They're not controlling anything.
Yeah, I know, right?
Dragons doing all the fighting on their own.
The only controlling is Dany is saying stuff, like actually saying
Dracarys.
Yeah.
Taurus,
That's the only controlling that's going on.
Because you would see Jon like shift his shoulders, like we're gonna dive now, and Rhaegal's like, okay, cool.
When it comes to like when you ride a horse bareback and the horse is trained enough, you can control the horse with your legs. So they can be doing that with the dragons too.
And I'm pretty sure this is the third time Jon has ever ridden that guy though.
Yeah. He's acting like a pro, because
or like Mess said, maybe it's just the Targaryen connection. Yeah,
Well, he was looking better out there on the dragon than Dany did, so She did. She
Okay.
did tumble also and just stand there.
We were talking about this before we started the cast. So Krenkin, who just came into the chat room, thank you for joining, says if the writers brought back Ghost just to have him ride off with the Dothraki and kill him off scene, I'm going to be pissed. And yes, I'm 100% there with you. But we talked about this, that if you don't see them die on screen, Game of Thrones has proven that if you don't see them die on screen or they haven't upright said that they're dead, they're not dead. They're still alive.
Yeah. Ghost is kicking around somewhere.
Wolf is still alive too. So
Who's that?
Arya's wolf is still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Lady Nymeria. Yeah.
They showed her. She's leading a pack.
Maybe they'll meet up with Lady Nymeria on the way south.
That might happen. Could you see?
That would actually be a really nice tie-off of that story.
That would be kind of a cool thing where if all of a sudden Nymeria's like pack shows up, and helps in the battle.
I would love that.
Just shows up and surrounds Cersei's.
Whimper, tail wag, and rub up against each other, like brother, sister,
Nymeria at this point is probably taller than Arya, so.
Back to the whole like battle itself. I mean, the only people that kind of had it all together, and this is where Jack keeps screaming, like I want to talk about the Unsullied in the chat room, is how awesome the Unsullied were.
Yes.
And I mean,
Did we see at one point one of the Unsullied start to run away? I feel like we did.
Yeah,
I don't
That ran back towards the
Grey Worm. Grey Worm was the name of the Unsullied that ran away.
Well, he's got something to lose.
But
he went back. I thought he went back to light the pitches. I didn't think he was running away.
Yeah, I didn't think he was running away either because you saw him fighting after that too, like in the middle of it all, and then he was like the last one standing on top of the heap.
He wasn't the last one in. So Jack says he ordered the retreat and he held the line. And he was the last one in. No, he left the massive amount of his army out there when they said light the So,
but I mean, it makes sense you don't generally want your generals on the front lines. Your generals should be behind.
It's always been for the Unsullied fighting style. It's always been the general out front, telling them that's why they keep their lines the way that they do. It's very 300 with the way that they.
What I was going to say
with fewer painted on abs.
There was even with this being such a dramatic episode, there were still a few moments that made me laugh. So the first one was Davos doing his, light the pitches, and then he kind of looks and off to the side, and he's like, "They can't hear me."
She can't see us. Oh man!
But it's just like that. It was like that moment in a cartoon where they look at the fourth wall and they go like, "This guy can't hear me."
BTB Mind Freak says in the chat room that he honestly thought that when Grey Worm saw Melisandre that he was going to ask the Red Woman to light him on fire so he could jump into the trench and start the fire. So I thought she was going to be like, "Hey, I saw you run away from your group. You get back over there and you die like a man." So that was my thinking.
Yeah, to go with Super Hoovian on that, as dramatic as this episode was, there was a lot of funny parts and one-liners. First one-liner I remember, and it was like, oh, that's good. Arya hands her the dagger. Add Sansa the dagger. I don't know how to use one of these. Stick it in with the pointy end.
Which is just a throwback. That's a total throwback because that was towards the beginning. Wasn't it when Arya was learning how to use needle?
It's when Jon gave her needle.
Yeah, and she's like, I don't know how to use it. So
he asked her, "Do you know how to use this?" She said, "Stick it with the pointy end."
Well, no, he told her that she said, "I don't even know what to do with this. Stick them with the pointy end," is what he said. So yeah, she's passing that down now.
Yeah, and Krenkin says, "I thought Grey Worm was going to die this episode. That moment would have made sense. I thought he was going to die as well, so it surprised me that he wasn't one of the ones to go. I mean, the first person that we had go was Ned.
Yeah.
And
Dolorous Ed.
Yeah, and of course it's saving Sam, which he told Sam not to be out there in the first place.
Bastard Sam. I'm not going to lie. This episode made me hate Sam Tully. Episode. Sam, just go sit in the crypts. Just go.
He's going to add this to his list of random ass battles that he survived, but he didn't do a lot.
Well, it was kind of funny later on when John just kind of walks by and lets him, "Oh yeah, you're good. Lay there and get attacked. I'm going to keep going and do my thing."
We're all worried about whether Sam was going to even get what's the sword? His family sword, Heartsbane or something like that. We're worried about whether or not he was going to get that sword back. And Jorah does die, but in a way that sword is recoverable. Jack says Sam did fight on the wall, but he probably hurt more than he helped. I can agree with that. He probably should have just been in the crypts with everybody.
Yep.
You talked a lot about how the crypts were going to end up being a bad place. You thought that the Walkers were going to get in there. And I heard later in the week a theory that, well, you know, a room full of dead people is probably a bad place to be when you're fighting against somebody that can raise the dead.
No, duh.
Okay, fantastic comment in the chat room right now. The Fallen King of Bavaria. Why isn't anyone complaining about the fact that the walkers are gone, but they didn't show the ice spiders big as hounds, not once, 8 years being teased and never shown. The walkers also weren't shown killing. I wanted spiders, got an amazing episode, but still, I agree. I mean, they have the budget behind to give us that stuff.
Ice spiders?
Yeah.
Forgetting?
Huh?
I must be forgetting something. I don't remember ice spiders.
Didn't they mention them in the book?
From the books.
An episode.
It's been a while since I've read
They
them.
never actually showed them. They never once showed them, but they were talked about.
I do remember them vaguely talked about going like, "Oh, I've seen enough giant spiders. Do I really need to see them made of ice?" Because
Yes,
I hate
of course.
We just want Magog made out of icicles.
Kranken says the Seven told them in stories.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So we never got to see them, and now they're gone.
I don't need
Maybe
Magog
that
from
was just a story.
Harry Potter.
That could be interesting point. You know, that the fact that the legends always have a grain of truth in them, but they get so fantastical over time that, you know, that could be something.
Well, that was the thing with the beginning of the series, was that like everything was fantastical. I mean, there were stories of things that happened in the past, but they, you know, and now this is the birth of magic again and coming back and being seen everywhere and stuff. And so that was showing that the fantastic still is, it's all there. It's still all out there. So thank you for that comment in the chat room. Where we left off scene wise was they actually broke through the ranks and started getting into Winterfell. And
they started going World War Z on the walls.
I think we skipped a scene though, didn't we? Oh, maybe we didn't.
Oh, you see Arya save the Hound, Grey Worm abandons the Unsullied, Red Woman lights the trench. That's the scene we
Okay.
skipped.
That was the scene I liked, when she shoots the arrow, the flaming arrow, right past the Hound, and he turns around and he's just like, I was expecting a Christopher Walken, like, I'm running here. Like, what are you doing?
Well, the look on his face right there kind of pre-told, like it indicated to me that he was going to have some problems with how much fire there was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But he soldiered through. Go Hound.
Good. Well, he seemed to.
Yeah.
They took off with the dragons at that point too.
He seemed to soldier through.
He got pulled back into it only when he saw that Arya was in danger. It shows the depth of emotion he has for that crazy ass little girl. Like, she's hanging off a roof and he's like, okay, you know what? Screw the fire. I'm gonna get her.
Yeah. And that's when we first start getting like them finally seeing the Night King on the dragon, going towards him, going after him, and the running into each other and flying through the mist.
Well, and even presaging that was a scene of Arya fighting on top of the walls, and like Jack said, Arya with the double it was pretty sweet. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. No, she was tearing it up with, and I love during that scene, freaking Davos.
When she pulled it apart?
No, Davos's face when he's like, kind of like the okay, cool. Yeah.
She was fighting like River Tam in Serenity. She was kicking ass.
She made a zombie shish kebab too.
They even got the scene of her completely different context, but they got the scene of her eventually dripping blood, like rivers, frozen solid, just dripping blood. Yeah.
You know, so the second half of the episode, I'm thinking of like funny lines for this cast, and I was like, don't you hate it when the blood falling out of your head makes a lot of noise and you have to start like Assassin's Creeding around your ancestral? And that all got kind of overshadowed by the end of the episode.
Yeah. That's why I wrote Arya the badass during the scene. I wrote Davos with holy S. Yeah, just the look on his face. We had.
I wish Gendry had seen that.
I wish he hadn't gotten overrun so much, because this joke would have made so much more sense when I first saw it. But when the dead are coming up the wall, the first thing that went through my head is that Jaime really knows how to knock things off of high places without a problem.
Things he does for us.
The things I do for humanity.
Yeah, we got Hound's PTSD, which we learned that it wasn't so much PTSD as him just going, there's no point. like he's getting yelled at by Beric forever, and he finally I'm waiting for the Hound to like be completely frozen with it, but you see him like come complete out of the frozen and just like F off, we're gonna die.
Yeah, that may have been like the first time tonight where I was sitting there just screaming at my TV, like, get the hell up, start doing something. It was like, come on, man. Been badass the entire time, and now you just sit there against the wall and hide. Come on, don't die that way.
I think that it wasn't even that he's scared of the White Walkers, it's just how much fire there was.
Mm-hmm.
The Dead wasn't scared of anything except fire.
But he was looking at the bodies when it wasn't. They didn't have him focusing on the fire.
No, it was when the trenches got lit up that he retreated.
But because he's what they were showing in that scene where he's up against the wall. He's looking at the walkers coming off of the.
I thought when he was up against the wall, he was just looking at the ground, like shaking in fear.
No, he's looking up and he's looking at and then they show like the walkers coming off of the roofs, and they show him, and he's just standing there. And it wasn't that it looks like he has PTSD, but it was just like he's come to the point that it's like, what's the point? Like he was the first smart one with this. That was, why waste my time on this? We're fighting a losing battle, which is what you think ends up happening, because more bodies, as they die, they come back. They're part of the army.
Well,
in a past episode, I remember him saying that he was scared of them, and he does have a reaction to him. So it's not just the fire anymore. He's scared of them. So that's understandable. So then now he's got both elements, them and fire. So it's like a double.
He needs new pants. Yeah.
And I didn't catch this, but they said Thoros was one of the
I didn't.
The white.
I didn't catch
that either.
Did not even realize that. I have to go back and watch that now. We're having a
there was like one undead guy that they focused on his face really solidly for a second.
And that's why Sam ran away.
Yeah.
Ran into him.
Just talking about the overwhelmingness of the odds they seem to be facing. That very first charge, when you see the Unsullied, and it's just it's like a tidal wave coming in of the undead.
Mm-hmm.
Surprised everybody didn't just shit their pants and leave.
Well, yeah, once again, it's the Unsullied, which that's the whole thing about the Unsullied. They know
they shit their pants and stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Dothraki fight. Well, that was after the Dothraki, huh? Because the Dothraki
that was after the Dothraki. Yeah.
So
Dothraki were first.
And I believe that there was portions of the wildlings that ran as soon as that thing came. Started like So it was just the Dothraki. They are full built war machines that will.
And wildlings are nothing if not survivors.
Speaking of, I don't know how I overlooked it, but I don't remember seeing Tormund very much in this episode at all.
You just saw him a lot looking around like, oh,
that was it, right?
He would like swing an axe and kill one guy. He would swing an axe and kill one guy and then look around like,
Did I miss it? There was hardly any Brienne in this episode. Brienne
she was in the beginning.
Okay, so I missed it.
And then she was there on top with Jamie when Jamie was getting
so I saw
Brienne was telling everybody to hold their lines first when the wave came.
Yeah, I remember that.
And her and Jamie kept saving each other the entire episode.
They saved each other multiple times.
She fought on the wall too.
Yeah, in the first half, but I don't remember a lot of them in the second half.
Not a lot. There's a couple.
It was her in the second half. It was basically just her, Podrick, and
Jamie.
Jamie getting overrun.
Yeah, at the end, they're pressed up against the wall and just utterly surrounded.
And at that point, they had switched the focus to like Arya and Bran and people in the all that. So they switched their focus of
and the first half of the episode was really about the battle and them being overtaken. The second half was basically the story of the Starks. and that's it comes down to Bran, Jon, even it was so it's Sansa in the crypt, and like her and Tyrion both like, all right, well let's do this, pull our daggers out. But yeah, that's kind of what the second half seemed like.
But yeah, as far as Brienne goes, like, she was leading the vanguard. She was in front of the frontmost troops, other than obviously the Unsullied and the Dothraki. So she was in front of the third most troops. But there was, she calls the retreat. She's, trying to guard people as they get in the gate with Jaime. They saved each other a bunch of times. And yeah, we see them a little bit towards the second half of the battle, but it's mostly them just getting overwhelmed and exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what Jack brings up for like Tormund kept getting little cuts of him chopping down the dead. Tormund, by the end of the episode, looked like that first, the very first comic book cover of Wolverine when he got his own comic and he's standing on top of the bodies. That was what Tormund looked like. He was just this little like mound kept building up that he was standing on top of through the episode.
He was just trying out of that giant's milk.
Going back to the coming into Winterfell, we see Lyanna Mormont and standing up tall through this whole entire thing, and she gets bitch slapped by a giant really quick.
R.I.P. Lyanna.
I don't want to talk about her.
She was
R.I.P. Little Bear.
The first hero of the episode.
Badass.
She's one badass little girl.
Now she's getting squeezed like a grape. She still fights and she takes down that giant. So, which was already
that was
killing me inside because I was thinking that like when I see a giant, I know that there's others, but I was thinking it was one of the two from the main wildling group that was part. And
I'm sad we didn't get to see a Walker Hodor. Still, that would have been.
Why would you want to see
Christian Narn back in there?
He could have been the one to like open the walkway for.
Yeah,
like,
he's gonna be the guy that he should have been the guy that opened the door.
Well, no, not even that. He's just when like Bran looks over at Theon's like, "You're a good man," and then that should have been like Hodor walking.
No, what you do to open the walkway, to hold the door, he should have been the last one to like fall in the fire to put the fire out so the rest of them can come through.
Oh. But yeah, that little girl, badass to the end. We hear the cartilage, we hear the ribs snapping.
Oh
and
man!
Presence of mind to pull out an obsidian dagger and stab that giant in the eye. I was like, oh, badass to the end.
Well, and it shows how great that actress did with the character. Krenkin brings up that poetic at the least, for someone who was supposed to be a one-scene character, Lyanna Mormont was supposed to be only in one scene. Ends up getting the biggest death in the show, and to die in that fashion, killing a zombie giant is pretty awesome. I was happy with her death, but that's what I mean. Once again, one scene character. One of the big pops that I went after that came out last year as a special pop was the Lyanna Mormont pop for Comic-Con last year. So only supposed to be a one scene character, but got a huge following just because that actress really
is a badass.
It's great to see the smallest of them take out the largest.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That was the theme, apparently, through the night.
Exactly, all the way to the end.
BTP wants you guys kicked off. BTP
wants who kicked off?
What was even harder to watch?
We're talking about Hodor. He says Hodor is a treasure, even in death.
Yeah. Well, and
I know that's why I wanted to see him
more
again.
People
right
after was watching everyone just went across her body, like the general fleeing of everyone. You didn't even get a chance to mourn.
Well, the worst part was seeing her eye open again, ice blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the part. I cried.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was horrible.
I did a lot of crying.
So who actually died in this one? I was trying to keep a mental list throughout.
So we had Daenerys dead died.
Dolorous Ed.
And then we had Lyanna that we got to.
Lyanna.
I haven't got to the other deaths yet. Jorah dies. We got to the dog fight, which I gotta say before we get into the dog fight with the dragons had probably the most amazing visuals above the clouds. Yeah. I want that background poster really badly. That thing was awesome looking when they were up above the clouds.
Was there ever a moment when there was blue flame and orange flame at the same time? Because I want
not at the same time.
There's a visual of that.
I was waiting for them to like shoot fire at fire, and we never got that scene. That would have been a pretty epic scene to see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
cool too.
So, but yeah,
But again, that's where
I love
straps.
the whole when I say dogfight, I mean like jet fight type of dog.
Yeah. Not the
Yeah.
hound,
They
yeah.
started tumbling together and everything. That was awesome.
It's a super awesome scene. Then we get Arya in the library, which I was like, this is Velociraptor Kitchen scene to me.
Yes.
It was that meets Solid Snake. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kept on waiting for her to like throw a distracting thing somewhere else, and then she did.
I know, right? I was waiting for that whole time. Come on, do it.
Yeah, I was like, why is she not? I thought it was only like 2 or 3 of them in there. Why are you not just going up there and killing them? And then she throws the book, and also like
Yeah, and
40 of
there's,
them
like,
come out of
12.
nowhere. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Do you?
Yeah. He knew. She
wanna
knew
know why-
they were in there. Yeah.
Like,
I want to know why there was like 40 of them wandering around in the library quietly in the first place.
Yeah.
to set up a scene.
They may be dead, but they can still read. They know the rules of the library. Stay silent.
Exactly.
There's an older White Walker like, shh.
Arya goes,
It's a complete setup for the hall chase scene. Totally complete setup.
Yeah,
There
I mean
were-
that's where you get your next death. So the Hound and Barrack show up. Barrack goes out like a champ, man. Just stab,
Yeah.
stab,
Oh,
stab, stab.
dude.
Now, did he
go.
get stabbed for the amount of times that he died and was re-risen?
19 times?
Maybe.
would
I'd
not
have
have
to
surprised
rewatch
me.
it. I don't know. But when he's got his arms up and he's blocking the door, and I was like, oh, I'm like, we have another hold the door. We have another hold the door. Like, that's all we could see. But he did.
Well,
He went
and
down.
So the line that caps that scene is fantastic because the Hound and Arya get into a room where Melisandre is waiting, and
That
Arya's
was
like,
so creepy.
"What the hell, man?" Yeah, she's just appearing everywhere, wherever she's
She's
needed.
just like, I didn't see her when they first ran in, and they turned around and they set up, and I'm like, who is that in the back? I'm like, where the hell did she come from?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and so she says a line that I think I know Super, we were talking about this a little bit earlier before the cast. I think the line that she says here is kind of going to explain her own end. She says, look, Book of Light brought him back for a purpose. That purpose is now over. His entire reason that he came back from the dead 19 plus times was purely to save Arya so that she could kill the Night King.
Yeah.
which she realized after the
How do you know
creepy eyeline.
to point out to the Hound that Arya needed help?
Well, I mean, that was part of it.
She gives Arya that line too, that Arya gets, and that's what makes Arya go and find the Night King.
Well, yeah, because Arya started it, right? She's like, you told me I would close many eyes, which you have. Green, brown, blue. Wink,
Now, how much funnier would it have been? Like, okay, so she goes and blue, and then Arya goes off to go get the Night King. How much funnier would it have been if, like, all of a sudden Arya comes flying out and stabs Tormund?
Tormund, yeah. Why should always be blue?
That was funny. I just love
Or you,
the
mess.
look on the Hound's face when Arya takes off running. What do we say to the God of Death? Not today.
Yes. Oh, again, and they've been.
He's like,
When that scene happened, my wife's like, "Where's she going?" I'm like, "Maybe to get another face."
There's a lot of available faces.
I knew she was going to do something important, but it was just so funny to watch him turn and be like, "Where? I'm right here." Like it. Like.
Well, okay, so this, I mean, the fact that she said, "What do we say to the God of Death?" and Arya responds with, "Not today." Another callback to season 1, and I think I kind of alluded to this last week. I think that these show writers, these show runners are so good at their job, and they've had this plan for so long. They are going to have a ton of callbacks to the origin of the series, and I don't think they're going to leave any thread untied up. I think, which is why I would be super happy if the Lady Nymeria thing comes back, because that's kind of a loose thread right now. But I think we've 3 episodes left, and I'm looking forward to things that are callbacks to stuff that hasn't been quite finished. The one reason that I knew the Hound was not going to die, we have not seen Clegane Bowl yet. And that
yeah, exactly. That's the first thing that goes through my head every time is he needs to fight against his brother.
They will.
Absolutely.
They will at King's Landing. You know they will.
Yeah. The I mean, well, the chat room's getting mad at me. They think that I'm saying that Tormund's going to die. I don't want Tormund to die. I was just saying as a joke. I thought it'd be hilarious if that with the whole.
I was.
And I'd laugh if there was a blooper of that. If there was.
Oh, I'm dead. Can somebody give me some?
I'm trying to recover.
But so I didn't bring this up at the beginning of the cast just to tell a little bit of people that are here joining us for the first time, just to let you know, this podcast and many of the other live streaming podcasts we do here on Twitch are brought to you by Malice-Corp.com. You can see the website written below. Go over there, check out the website. If you want to hear any of the other podcasts that we do, we've been doing podcasting for the last 3 years, all things having to do with nerd and pop culture and geek stuff. So we greatly appreciate you guys checking us out. You can listen to all these casts on Stitcher, on Spotify, anywhere that you listen to podcasts, or we even have a YouTube channel for Malice Corp. So thank you guys for checking us out. Thank you for supporting us. I just had to throw that quick little plug in there. And back to the show. We get the major battle between Viserion and Rhaegal, where Rhaegal just rips the hell out of Viserion's neck. And then that's when he decides to, like, I'm going to take a nap because he's done enough work and kicks Jon off of his back.
And I'm sleepy now.
You got this, Jon. You got it. You don't need me anymore.
And then,
well, I don't know why it didn't occur to me last episode, but it occurred to me this episode that Jon is riding the dragon that's named after his father.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It makes sense. Viserion was the one that got killed. Was named after the jackass,
the worst Targaryen.
Yeah. And then
why she named a dragon after him, I'll never know. He didn't deserve it.
He raised her.
Yeah, and wasn't Drogon the strongest of the three brothers?
No,
Yes.
Drogon was named after Khal Drogo.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why.
Oh, she had two brothers. Okay, yeah, that's what. Okay, yeah, okay. But yeah, so the Night King also gets kicked off of off of Viserion. She sees the Night King, and we get the answer to, will Dragonfire work on the Night King?
Yeah, turns out smirkingly, no.
Well, in a very T1000 in the fire T2.
If he had emerged as liquid metal, I would have. That's about right.
So not only did he just not die and just emerge out of the fire, but he emerged out of it with a giant shit-eating grin and smirk on his face.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best you got, really?
It's
like,
first
okay,
time you've
it's not
seen a
gonna
different
happen.
facial expression on the Night King.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that the first facial expression we've seen from him? Because before that, he's been ice cold.
Well done.
Okay, but I know that was dad joke supreme.
I feel like doing the Pee Wee Herman death scene and Buffy.
Mrs. Malice's daughter is gonna love that joke. She loves.
God, that one hurt.
I thought you were gonna say he was ice baby.
Oh, yeah. Word to your mother.
I wrote that earlier for the storm was Ice Baby, and I was like, I'm gonna stay.
But so again, and I've been known to do this on the Walking Dead cast as well, trying to bring logic into a fantasy show.
Oh God.
How come Dragon Fire doesn't kill the guy when Dragon Glass does? Like, why? Sorry, overthinking.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, so Jon, so she goes running, with Drogon. Jon goes after the Night King, and I love the entire, like, how high and mighty Dany has switched completely over to the Night King. Like, he's just walking with that swagger, you can't do anything to me. To even the fact when, like, Jon's running at him, my wife's like,
he's just strutting.
Well, that's the thing, is my wife sees Jon running, and she's like, he's gonna be so tired by the time he gets to him that he's just gonna, like.
Well, not only that, but, like, he was standing there. He didn't pull his sword. He basically was like the Rock. I'm like, he neoed him.
It was a Rock. He
raised
turned
his
his head
hands
like
and-
this. He went.
Well, when he turns all the way around, he, like,
Yeah.
lifts his hands up, like, bring what you got. Like, I'm just gonna stand here and wait for you.
He did that because he was raising the dead. He lifted his hands up because that's how he was raising the dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew it. I knew that the bodies in the crypt were gonna bust out.
Well, we
called that
stated it last week. I said that they were going to get in the crypt, and then you said that the bodies.
You said they
They-
were going to break into
They
the
did not
crypt.
get into the crypt.
I
No.
said that they were going to bust out of the cockpits, and I was
I said
like,
they
I
were
knew
going to get in the
it.
crypt somehow. I said they were going to get in the crypt somehow. They got in the crypt by raising.
They raised the Starks, okay? You know, they brought the Starks back to life.
Why didn't we see it
Oh,
at
why
this
did you
point?
forget Ned? Why did you get a call back of Ned on that one?
Because
My
Ned was
God.
not there.
Ed was beheaded. There's no way he would have came back to life.
No, he would
Valid
he would
point.
have
I
he would've-
You
apologize.
walk around, no hill going.
Ned would have been Simon from The Walking Dead's head. Just Jack in the chat room says,
He would have gotten to see his mom.
oh, Leanna was in there. Yes. Jack in the chat room says the reason that the Night King wasn't affected by the fire, but he was affected by the dragonglass dagger because he has a thick, fireproof skin. But the dragonglass pierced that skin and got to his soft caramel center.
Yeah. Work.
So when he's raising everybody, I was like, John, you better run faster because you only got one swing at this. Because
Yep. No, he didn't even get that.
and he doesn't get there in time. And Danny to the rescue again, but this time she like the love.
That was some
for John.
danger close fire, by the way.
But the love for John, like the first time that I've seen her like make a mistake where it's like I'm so much in love with this man that I'm going to watch him frolic off and let everybody.
That was the only part that didn't make sense to me. That was the only part. The fact that
character.
Yeah.
I felt like.
I kept on
It's so
expecting her to
weird.
swoop down on Drogon and like pluck him off the ground. Because he was
That would have made more sense. That would have made more sense if he had done it that way.
Or just to go down, do the fire, and then fly off. The fact that she sat there so long with Drogon, the minute that one white got on his tail, I felt like he would have just taken off. He wouldn't have sat there letting people climb up his back like that. Like, what the
watching
hell?
that he was getting
crazy.
swarmed.
And the fact that she didn't try and make him fly after that, she just
No.
was like, this is all of a sudden like not meshing with Danny's character whatsoever.
That was season one,
'cause-
Danny, thrust into the circle of the cows being sold off to marriage, not knowing what to do. She hasn't been that character for 7 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Jack says he was tired. He did end up flying away while covered in walkers, swarming him like fire ants. And I just wish he'd done it sooner.
Her digression over the last season, or this part of the season, is kind of like slowly leading her to the demise of her, and it being like love that's going to end up killing her at the end of it all. And love is what's kind of brought her to her power in the first place.
I think it was pure will and rage that brought her to her power in the first place.
Well, yeah, but it started because of her love for Khal Drogo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We have two thoughts in the chat room.
John's also her biggest competition for the Iron Throne.
Ruatu says, I think they want to kill all the dragons and give Cersei the advantage. BTP says she was still in shock. The Dragonfire didn't kill the Night King. This was a long time ago, so I don't think she was still in shock at that point because she was like, "Go" to Danny or to John. She was like, "Go." You know?
Yeah. But Masonic Vader says this is Danny's first real war, her first real experience being in the middle of shit where she wasn't going to be the dominant army. And I think that's kind of a point. Every time there's been a major conflict that she's a part of, she's standing back on the rampart somewhere, directing the Unsullied, an overwhelming force to go just wreck shit. And this time she didn't have that option, not really.
And to go with that, like the only time she's ever really got like pushback from a civilization or a group was when then she dropped the dragons in and they killed everybody in its quad, and then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll bow down to you now. And that's the only time she's ever had pushback.
I'm scared of you. You got 3 big dragons. I'm scared of you.
Yeah, exactly. And then through all that, we get the next like 15 minutes of it looking like there's just no hope whatsoever. Everybody looks like
There were so many moments where I was like, okay, well, they're going to die. They're obviously going to die.
And
All these people.
I'm going, I couldn't figure out what they were going to, and I'm like, if they
Where were they going? Yeah.
this way right now, I'm going to be like, oh my God. And what kept going through my head is, this is all Bran just seeing the future. And then we're going to go to the next step.
No.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering too.
That's
what I was wondering
I
too.
thought was coming. I really thought that was coming, you know.
Well, the one scene in particular, we had talked about it a little bit before, but when Brienne, Jaime, and Podrick are up against the wall and surrounded by herds of whites at them, I was like, okay, there's no way you would die of exhaustion before you killed all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
If they had not pulled that final coup de grace, they would have died.
Yeah. They showed it kind of because I remember them slumping. That was when I remember them in the second half, was them just kind of slumping up against the wall and Brienne looking out and Jaime looking out and just going like this is it, like this is the end, this is where we meet.
I know. I wanted them to like reach for each other's hands and like have that moment.
Yeah.
And then that's when Tormund makes his reappearance. Like, no, I'm not here. We're good.
Actually, it would have been great if Tormund had reached for her hand and then she reaches over to Jaime. And he's like, no.
They reach for each other's hands. All Jaime can hand is the gold hand. She just isn't pulling it off.
He chucks it at a walker.
But yeah, we get Tyrion and Sansa, which was a pretty amazing scene. I thought it was an awesome scene watching them.
It was actually pretty emotional. I was surprised.
And one of the best one-liners of the night.
Yes.
Well, I think that might be one of Sansa's best line was like, this is the most heroic thing that we can do now is look the truth in the face. Earlier. I know it was earlier in the episode, but
I was referring to
I think
when she was talking about him being her husband and said, you were the best of it.
I know. Yeah, that was amazing.
That was sweet.
Yeah.
He kisses her hand before he goes out to.
My dream ending for the series, they end up together.
That would actually be kind of funny.
Not going to happen. Sansa's not making it to the end.
Don't spoil
I don't know.
Don't you put that evil on her, bearded master?
Oh, I will.
Don't
Every Stark can't live.
No,
but
Bran's
I
gonna
like
die.
his
That's
reaction.
No.
Just his reaction of God, that's really sad.
No, that's. I think his actual words were, "Oh my God, that's tragic."
Yeah, it's like, I mean, look at what she was married to right after him. He's certainly better than Ramsay.
She's been married to 3 men.
3.
Tyrion Lannister.
3.
3. Yeah, 3. Tyrion Lannister, Joffrey, and Ramsay.
Oh, that's right. She did marry Joffrey.
She did marry Joffrey. And Tyrion is by far the best of them.
No, wait. I thought she almost married Joffrey, and then Joffrey went to go marry what's her name?
He died eating the pie at their reception.
No, that was
Marjorie.
That's wrong. He married the other chick, not Sansa.
Yeah, he married Marjorie. He died. Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
Crap, I forgot.
He was betrothed to Joffrey, and then he said, "No, I want her." She was already married to Tyrion because she was sitting with Tyrion at the wedding. Yeah.
Well, okay, so of the 3 relationships she's had in the show, Tyrion's the best.
She's only been married twice, and she was engaged to Joffrey.
Yeah.
Either way, Sansa still gets around. I'm just saying.
None of it was her choice. She just has a crappy pimp.
No, bull. She gave Joffrey the eye the second he walked into Winterfell.
Yeah. She kind of had a relationship with that pimp, though, a little bit. It seemed like it was going that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Peter Baelish, worst pimp ever.
We didn't key in on is that when Drogon flew off, Jorah, being Jorah, man, showed up to Dany's side and
the first thought that came to my mind once Jorah appeared was, of course, he'd be the White Knight. Of course. Makes sense. He's the one. Absolutely. And now he's going to meet his demise for it.
Yeah, and he goes down like a champ. He's another one that dies. And my wife's like watching, and when she's like holding him and stuff, she's like, at least kiss him. Give him do something.
No. Friend zone till the end.
She's like, show him a little boob. Give him something. He's dying.
Wait. Let me rephrase that. Friend zone till the end zone.
Tagline. There you go.
And then we get to like we said going out like a hero, like no other.
Had to happen.
Theon, all the scenes with Theon and Bran, from him like trying to explain himself and Bran's being like, it's okay. It's got you back home.
Exactly. That starts with that first line. You're here now. Home or whatever it was, But yeah.
I know everything. He starts to apologize, and Bran says, "Everything. No, don't worry about it. Everything that you did led you to here, where you're supposed to be, home.
Yeah, you're where you belong.
You are a good man, Theon. Thank you. And Elfie Allen gets that one tear going. And it was like,
I love that actor.
I will say though, I haven't cried that hard since Glenn died.
wait till you see Endgame.
He pulled a major like Legolas in this scene too with the bow and arrow.
Mr. Malice was like, he's not going to charge him. I'm like, oh, he's going to charge him. He's going to charge him. Look,
It was complete. He did. It was completely futile, and he knew it. But
that was the second time he's had his stick snapped in half.
Oh.
no.
That too. I've been thinking about that. Been thinking about that for 2 hours now. Yes, sir.
That was such a good line. I wish I had thought of that.
Oh, but that's the thing too with that charge. It was so sad because it was completely futile. But how quickly the Night King just like like
a fly, like a gnat, like
oh.
But at least he held his promise to the end that he was going to protect.
He went out a hero. He went out as Theon. He put the Reek character completely behind him, 100%. So I mean,
two of the three main characters that needed to die heroes have now done so. The only one left is Jaime.
At this point, Theon definitely has more balls than Euron does because I think Euron's going to be a little flying.
Euron would have run behind the trees and took up.
Euron would have done what Sam did.
Euron would have been running with Euron. Jack Malice, exactly. Theon went out as a Stark.
Yeah.
Yep.
Went out as a Stark, protecting a Stark.
Exactly. Now, so wait till Yara finds out about this, and then she's gonna go ape shit on everybody else.
We're gonna have another Iron Islands they're gonna rebel again.
Got it. Gonna go on everyone's ass, or not? No, what's not Sansa? I forgot her name.
Yara?
No, Jaime's sister.
Cersei.
Yeah, I said Sansa. Cersei. She can go Cersei on that.
Jack says about Theon that he went out as a Stark. He proved he's really Ned's son, if not by blood, by death. But that's what I said on last week's cast too. Is that
I think he meant deed.
He joined by deed. Okay, yeah, deed. But that's what I said last week's. He joined his family not in blood, but in bond, in actually.
Well, yeah, and Bran said what I said in last week's cast, like you're home.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, BTB Mind Free says what's dead may never die, but we learn different from that because Arya comes in like a champ and kills the dead,
like a boss.
I love my Arya.
The whole the drop dagger to the other hand, boom.
Well, okay, and see here's the thing. Like, I believe they set up the Lyanna Mormont death specifically so that we would think that she's about to get gacked the same way. We start hearing cartilage creaking because he's got her by the throat. She comes up and she thinks she's stealthy and she's gonna jump and stab him in the back of the neck. He catches her by the throat and we hear and she drops. Oh, so good.
Dare I say, she came flying in like a spider monkey. What were you gonna say?
Jack says the drop dagger to the low grip gut ripper.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, it was just crazy. Even the walk up there, just the slow walk, and they're just staring at each other. I'm like, is this going to be a stare off? Is he going to speak for the first time? Is he going to say something? Are we going to know? I was
waiting for that. Yeah.
I thought Bran was going to call him out by his real name, and I'm like, oh, we're going to get this right here. We're going to get this.
And then he raised his hand up. I'm like, is he going to give Bran a high five? What the hell's he doing?
I thought we were going to
join hands.
Yes.
I was comparing Bran's face to the Night King's face the whole time. I'm like,
you thought that theory was going to happen.
They have the same nose. They have the same nose.
I thought they were going to do that to you.
He can't kill Bran because Bran's going to become him.
I was waiting for it to happen and have you on this cast be like, fuck this show. I'm done.
I was waiting for it. I think I had been swayed.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna like touch hands.
And yes,
and we were gonna get like Agent Smith Neo kind of thing going on there where they become one. I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't do that.
No, the Night King wasn't raising his hand to give ran a high five.
No, he was
Yeah,
grabbing
just-
his-
Yeah, he was
Literally
getting his
so
dagger,
good.
but it was so damn slow. You could have wrote a whole
But he
book
was
about what he
so
might be
damn slow,
doing.
And then he held it there for a second. Then when they switched angles, I saw, oh, okay, he's going for the sword. All right, that looked. But at the other angle, literally just lifted up, and I'm like, what is he doing? Like he looked.
He did this. He went, okay, it's time for you to die.
No, because once again, what I said before, the swagger that Danny has had this whole time, because she's never was what the Night King now.
Yes.
Anytime somebody gets that type of swagger, it's gonna end up going against them. So
Yeah.
who's the next person that has that type of swagger? Is Cersei. So it's
Or
And-
it's Arya who just killed the Night King.
Yeah, no.
Arya doesn't swagger.
Swagger.
She just took Gendry's V card, and now she's going to
No,
take.
he took her.
Oh, that's
He'd
right.
slept with 3 whores in
That's
King's
right.
Landing.
Yes, that's true. So, but either way, she just killed. She just killed Night King. She's gonna be walking on a little bit of swagger there. Hey, John.
Masonic brought it up earlier, and I have the same question. How did she get past that crowd of walkers?
Because everybody's paying attention to what's going on in the middle.
No. They already set this up. They set this up in the very first episode of the season.
Yeah.
John's standing at the tree. He turns around. He's like, "How'd you sneak up on me?" So they were already setting up that she can get
Sneaky, sir.
Yeah, exactly. She is.
Now you let me change your socks.
It's the
Somebody got it.
I mean, that is the full power of the many-faced god. It basically gives her all forms of camouflage.
Yep.
You know,
Just kept changing to different walkers as she was moving up.
That's what she's saying.
Go back and watch that whole scene again. They show one of the whites. His hair does like this little whoosh, like it blows.
Oh, did she make herself look like a walker?
Blast him.
yeah.
Sorry.
So maybe that's where they said Thoros was a walker. Maybe it wasn't actually Thoros. It was her as a walker.
Yeah.
Jack says she didn't get past. One white saw her, and that's how the Night King knew to turn around and catch her. But she still snuck through the friggin' 70 of them.
She came flying at him like a spider monkey, literally.
She got
amazing.
some ups, too. That girl
She
got
did.
some
She came
hair.
up from above somewhere. She jumped from somewhere. She
had to
jumped.
jump
And
from a
that's
rock
when
or
you see the
something.
wind blow across him, and he. And that's when the Viking turns around and grabs her.
She came at the back
Still
of
gotta watch
it
that
like
scene.
Michael Jordan from the free throw line. She had some air on that jump.
So okay. So that the episode ends. All the whites die. Everybody that's
They all
still alive
explode
fly.
into ice fragments. It was beautiful.
There's another scene I do love, and that's when that dragon is standing there, and John's like, you're like, oh my god, he's gonna get eaten by the dragon. And John just stands up and screams at the dragon.
Oh wait, can we talk about that scene for a minute? Because that scene was Jon Snow and that was Jon Snow at a boss level in a video game. He kept on having to dodge the fire, hide behind things, and attack when necessary, and then hide again. It was amazing.
And he was fighting a broken dragon too, because that fire just like
Yeah.
the side of the neck.
Yeah, half its face was hanging.
Out of his neck. And the fire was coming out of his neck.
Yeah, uncontrollably. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we lost Ned, or not Ned.
Ed.
Dolorous Ed.
Dollar said we lost. Good lord, I had this all
Lyanna
written
Mormont.
down.
We lost.
Lyanna
Lyanna Mormont, Jorah Mormont,
Beric
Theon.
Dondarrion.
and Theon.
And then Melisandre.
And Melisandre,
Beric
and that was
Dondarrion.
the last scene. Yeah, that was the last scene. This poor freaking Davos, man. He just cannot get his revenge.
It was so funny. That line about "Don't worry, you don't need to get your revenge. I'll be dead by tomorrow." And then the battle ends, and he sees her, and he's like, "Oh, I get to go get it." And then she's like, "Nope, sucker, drop the
Well,
necklace."
because like she tells him, "No need for your execution. I'll be dead by sun up." And the
course,
sun's
sun
up, and he's like, "Oh, she didn't die yet. Here I go." And then
But
nope,
no, she
not
straight
gonna
up
Bruce
just
says
wrote
Davos
about
never
it.
drew his sword, but man,
No,
I
he
wish
never-
Davos would like at least try to throw a dagger or something.
He never drew his sword, but there was a scene where he was standing on the battlements with the archers, and I was like, how is he going to draw a bow? The dude has no fingers. That would have been awkward. Just
But no, I wanted
Playing
him
it
to
like
get
a harp.
revenge for that little girl. I really did, but
oh,
he doesn't get it.
Shireen.
He doesn't get it. So, yeah. Where do we go from here? We have what This is the third. So we got three episodes.
Three episodes left. Yeah.
But we have 4.5 hours. We have four.
The
and a half
bitch of
hours
this.
left.
Finished the biggest thing that everybody really wanted outside of seeing who ends up on the Iron Throne.
What's this game? What's this show called?
Game of Thrones. Yeah, I know.
So we still and the bitch of it is Cersei was right. She was right to not march north. Her entire strategy was they're going to waste most of their people against the undead, and I'm hoping they're going to win. And if they do, when they come back, I'm going to be able to wipe them out. And she's right.
Well, we didn't really see what was left of them. We have the main cast that's still there.
Yeah.
We don't know how many wildlings we have. We don't have any Dothraki anymore. We don't know how many Unsullied we have. Probably very little on Unsullied.
Pretty much just Grey Worm.
It's going to come down to the battle of between
King's Landing.
No, Euron and Yara, and seeing what they do, who ends up running the Iron Fleet, and that's what's going to come down.
Ruru 2 says, "What if they do a 5-year later time skip? They better."
Oh, they better not.
Oh my God, please no.
That shit happens. We riot. I will be done. No, better not do that.
I can only take it in one show, not another one.
If they do a 5-year time leap, then Daryl is the one that's going to
And Morgan's going to come out of nowhere with his stick.
You're going to see Morgan training with Arya with the staff.
Those that don't watch The Walking Dead, this is the characters from The Walking Dead. Because they do time jumps all the time on that show. So
yeah, Arya's going to inherit the
like
Colt
twice.
357.
Well, they said okay. We saw Gendry didn't die, so we did Missandei survive the?
She survived.
I think so. Yes. I don't think. Yeah.
Once again, we didn't see him die on screen. Then they're alive. That's
and she's a character that they're not going to kill off without letting us see it, or at least letting the Grey Worm see her die.
How many Starks survived this weekend? They all did.
All of them.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
What's his name?
Theon.
We did lose one Stark this weekend.
By blood, they all did. But if you count, Theon would be the one that So.
And this is the bias that Theon had to deal with his whole life. You're not.
For a while, he was more of a Stark than Jon was.
And I'm bringing this up again. Ruru 2 is now asking, as he came in late on the cast, what about Ghost? We did not see Ghost die on screen. So just like the Hound and just like a lot of things that happen with the Game of Thrones, if they don't say it, they're dead. They aren't dead. Ghost is out there somewhere. So
he's chowing down on a dead dragon.
I'm still waiting for Lady Stoneheart. I don't know about you.
God.
It's not going to happen at this point. I wish, but that was
that would be awesome though. Lady Caitlyn comes back at the very end.
That was supposed to have happened like 3 seasons ago. Now that's when
they've already said, because they've actually asked about Stoneheart a lot, and they've already basically said, we're far beyond that.
It's
story
over.
At this point. So
okay, well, Chrislyn says Arya will kill Cersei. No, so there's a prophecy.
Nope.
There's prophecy.
It's gonna be Tyrion. He's gonna get it.
Well, it's got to be one of the brothers.
I think it's
the baby. It could still die in
snap.
childbirth because it's still technically a brother.
Oh, that's true. Oh, crap. And yeah, I said the same. I said a similar thing last week on the cast. Fantasy novels, fantasy shows, prophecy is always very subjective. It's subject to interpretation. So yeah, technically the baby she's carrying is also her brother. That could be a way to kill her.
So it would be the little brother, the smaller brother.
And everybody else is just absolutely convinced it's Jaime.
That's why it's not going to be Jaime. It's too obvious to be Jaime.
Obvious.
And that's why it's not.
It's Jon.
It's Tyrion. Tyrion's going to be the one that kills her, and then he's going to turn on Dany and help Jon take the throne, and Jon's going to end up handing it out to Arya.
I don't know, after what happened with his father, and granted, he needed to do it, but I don't know if Tyrion can kill Cersei. I don't know if he has it in him.
He won't. It won't be Jaime or Tyrion that kills her.
Because her son is from Jaime as well. That's why it would be her brother.
That's why her brother. Yeah.
That's what they're asking in the chat.
No, that would be her nephew then.
Yeah, it wouldn't be her brother.
Yeah, that's true.
Wouldn't be her brother. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm wrong. Okay. It's late.
All I know is it better not be Sansa. I just don't let it be Sansa.
No, don't let it be
Sansa can't kill anybody.
I know, but they would give it her because
to finish her list, it has to be Arya, just for the factor that she's on her list. She was the number 1 name on her list. So
it could be Arya. It's definitely going to be Stark.
It's not going to be an obvious answer. I don't
I
see
think it
being one of
has
those
to be a
obvious-
Lannister. It has to be a Lannister.
It's going to
See
be
about it.
It's a Stark.
And I think it's a more emotionally satisfying scene if it's one of her brothers.
Yeah,
It's either
we'll find out.
love of her life or
Come back to life, and she's going to kill her. That's what's going to happen.
Well, we've gone. Yeah, they're going to do the children of the forest are going to come back out and create the new new night queen,
Night King.
Cersei, and
Catherine, and she's
oh
gonna come
god,
back.
if you're right about that, I'm going to be pissed.
it's just like the Matrix. It just always starts over again after everything's
It's the
done.
cycle. Yeah.
God, that better not be the. Here's the thing.
I'm going to be pissed if that's
There's going to be somebody sitting on a bench somewhere with cookies afterwards. Is that what's going to happen? The architect of the Seven Kingdoms is going to be there.
Yeah, episode 5. There's going to be like a 40-minute scene of somebody explaining the whole world.
Who's going to be the one sitting on the bench eating the popcorn or the cookies with all the crows sitting around him?
When I was watching the scene where it looked like there was no hope left and they were showing everybody like, hey, they're all going to die, the music sounded very similar to another HBO show. And I was like,
right? There was so much piano in there.
It sounded a lot like Westworld.
I was
Really?
like,
Because
did they get the same composer from Westworld?
What I was listening to, like that last scene when they kept showing everybody like in their little pods, they're like, are they going to die right here? I kept thinking Toy Story 3, where they're like all about to like fall down like the fire of the garbage at the dump. It's like doo-doo-ch, doo-doo-ch. It's like, what's gonna happen here?
That's just the power of it. Yeah.
I now want to hear a side by side of the Game of Thrones theme and the Westworld theme because
it just sounded very similar.
It's the exact same chorus, it's the exact same opening, but with different.
We didn't talk about this earlier, but there was a point where when Bran basically told Theon like kind of like it's time, and then that's when we first see the Night King on the dragon, and then we see the 3 ravens behind him. Do you think that those ravens behind him was kind of like telling him, "Hey, come down and get me," or was just kind of blending it all together? Because where the hell do ravens come up that far high in the middle of an ice storm?
Well, it's something that we haven't really talked about this entire episode. Bran did nothing in this episode except they're warging into ravens. We don't know what those ravens were doing. He was just sitting there.
Well, I thought he was watching the battle. I thought he was helping.
That's not
I don't know if
helpful.
he was helping, but he was watching to see what happened. That's what I thought.
But without giving us information to anyone, that's useless.
Yeah, because like those ravens were like basically like just like on the tail of the dragon and like behind the Night King's like shoulder the entire time.
Have you not figured it out yet? Bran is the Watcher from Marvel. He is not allowed to interact with anything and just fly.
Or
information for Bran to know exactly when the Night King was going to show up. That is why.
That I agree with that, and I also think now that it's because he is actually the Night King, and he wanted to watch.
Says he's the cameraman for us.
Those were all those aerial shots came from. There you go.
Welcome Esper87 to the chat room. We're ending for tonight, but thank you for coming. It says, "Wow, GOT was disappointing. The Night King was just a speed bump," and that's what we're saying. Is that this was a big thing that people were
pretty significant. I would argue it's more like trying to drive over a house.
The conclusion to the Night King came right in the middle of the season. That's I think what they mean by being a speed bump. It's like you expected this to be more towards.
Yeah, I thought it was actually going to expand a couple episodes, but when you look at it now, it really was that battle and that story arc to separate everybody from King's Landing.
Yeah.
Masonic Vader.
And I'm not surprised because everyone thought, okay, they're going to get driven from the north and they're going to be forced to work with Cersei to defend King's Landing, but this is better because now it's like the magic is gone. Now it's just real life, and we got to take the road. And
magic is still around.
Well, I mean,
magic is still around. There's still the living dragons. Yeah.
Like
the Walker army is gone. The undead threat that we have no way to fight ourselves is gone.
Ruatu does bring up a big point. 8 years of hype of winter is coming, winter is here.
I mean,
winter's over.
Just because the Night Kings are gone doesn't necessarily mean the winter's over. I mean, we can find some ice dragons.
All of the white side.
But ice dragons aren't necessarily whites.
They're dead.
So,
No,
not ice dragons.
everything
Not ice
that he
dragons.
raised, everything that he raised from the dead is now.
Those aren't. He didn't raise ice dragons.
Yeah, he raised the ice dragon. He
That
sure
wasn't
did.
an ice dragon. That wasn't an ice dragon.
Okay,
Well,
so
maybe. Hey, we still haven't seen the ice spiders.
every house, guys, every house has a saying. The Stark saying was "Winter is coming." That was the Stark's line. That was their little house, little motto thing, or whatever.
They're gonna have to change it.
Well, yeah.
Hey, no.
Winter is gone.
Once it's over, it's coming back again in 10 years in this world. Remember, it's like every 10 years winter comes.
Yeah, but
Well, then
When
winter is
Bran
also
finally learns to walk again, he will be the
winter
Night
in this
King.
world is also somehow supernaturally related to the White Walkers. That's what
It just
what
this
caused
year.
the long night. That's why they kept on saying winter is coming. They weren't talking about, hey, we have a weird seasonal cycle. It's winter is coming. The White Walkers are coming back. The
No,
White Walkers are all dead now.
At the beginning of this series, they kind of were talking about the weird seasonal cycle because they didn't know about the Night King or the dead at all.
Right, but I'm saying their family's original words are related to 8,000 years ago.
They know that. They realize that now, but at the beginning of the series, they were just thinking to do with the weird,
And I'm saying, yeah,
Okay, and what did the Starks worship too? What was the other thing they worshipped? They
the heart
worshipped
tree, the old
the
gods.
heart tree, the old ones, which are part of all of that. That is why they're saying is winter's coming, because the Night King is coming, and that's what that meant. They didn't know that until now.
Agreed.
So we'll get deeper into these theories and thoughts just because we're 20 minutes past our normal time.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna have a lot of editing to do, my friend.
It was such an epic episode. I mean, come on, we had to match Game of Thrones hours.
Great conversation. So we hope that you guys come back for more Game of Thrones conversation. But everybody that's here on the cast that's already talked about it, all their contenders are still in the race. Mrs. Malice, you haven't gotten to give us your theory yet. Who will be on the Iron Throne at the end?
Jon Snow.
Okay.
And it's a unanimous decision for Malice Corp.
I am not Jon
Oh,
Snow.
that's right. You did say something different last week. I do apologize.
She said, "Danny."
Jon Snow will only take it if everyone else is dead. Honestly.
Everybody's gonna die.
Nope. I do not think that. I'm sorry.
John
Sorry,
will be
I
the
don't think
leader
that.
of no one.
This is what's
Nope.
going to happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen, and this is why I think Jon Snow is going to end up on the throne. Danny's going to be like, all right, yeah, you're supposed to be the man of the house, so guess what? I'll marry you. Here's the throne. You are the king.
Nope.
No, she
Yeah,
won't hand
She
it
got way
over.
much pride
she would
for that.
never do
Yeah,
that.
you're not gonna hand it over.
That is not going to happen. She did not work
No
that
way.
hard
No,
to
we
just hand it off to a man.
We-
Mm-mm.
But then again, she did get her ass beat, so maybe
Now.
she will concede now.
She's given up a lot to a long list of men. She's going to do it again because that's who she is. She gave it up
Nope.
to her brother. She listened to her brother, and then her brother was killed. She had to listen to Draco. Guess what? He died. It's going to
Nope.
keep happening. It's going to be a repeat.
Nope.
Jon Snow is the rightful king, and she's going to give him the throne.
Nope.
the only
She got
Super,
too
I'm
much
gonna let
pride
you
for
take that
now.
one.
Go ahead, Super.
Nope.
I want to hear this debate.
She's got way too much pride for that now. We've compared her to Cersei in the past, and she can be like Cersei. She's got the bad traits. She's got that crazy. She wants the power, and she's not gonna, because that was in the scene last week with the crypt where you saw that calculation come over her face like, crap, I have to deal with another contender now, but I actually like this guy. So there could be a marriage, and there could be a marriage, but Jon Snow will not be the leader. Jon will be the right-hand man, and she will be the one in power. Because
I wanna
Jon
throw in my-
almost sacrificed not one, but both her dragons for Jon Snow. It's going to be
No.
Jon Snow.
And I was trying to say
No.
goodbye, but this is getting too good.
Oh no, there's a conversation to
She
be had.
didn't willingly sacrifice her dragon. She went to save someone, and that's noble. You do that for the ones you love. They would all do that for any of them. But that wasn't her willingly going, none of them knew. I mean, come on. Who thought that the Night King was going to throw a lance like that and kill the dragon?
Just one point there. If say they both live to the end, say there is a marriage, Jon doesn't want the throne. He doesn't want to be Night King. He never wanted to be Lord of Winterfell. He sure as shit does not want the Iron Throne. He almost
So that's
said
why all of
in
your
the crypt,
arguments go out
if
the
they-
window.
if they get married, he doesn't want that throne. He may have the right to it, but if he has that right to it and they're both alive at the end of married, he will abdicate in favor of her.
Yes.
I'll once again give you my reasoning for the argument of why I say John. One, I would have 100% agreed with you, Super, up until this episode, seeing how Danny reacted in that scene where Drogon got ran over.
Yeah.
I think Love is going to end up getting back at her. I don't think Danny's
the cause for death.
I don't think Danny's going to live. I think she's going to die. I think she's going to have
that makes sense. So if she dies, then that's completely fine. But
then John
if
takes
she
it.
lives,
she's going to have to sacrifice herself to save John. The other reason is they've said from day one that the ending of this whoever's on the
It'll
Iron
be
Throne,
bittersweet.
bittersweet ending. The most bittersweet ending. My once again reason I think John. The most bittersweet ending is the nobody child that everybody thought was a bastard that treated him like a bastard ends up taking the throne.
Well, what Jack Malice says in the chat is this is why John will take the throne. He doesn't want it. John will realize that any person who wants it doesn't deserve it. Yeah. I agree with that, but I still argue that if they are both alive at the end, even if they get married, he doesn't have to take it. She can take it.
He's already proven deference to her by bending the knee.
Otherwise, the most bittersweet ending is that they both die and Gendry ends up on the throne.
That could be. Or
and then Arya's queen.
Tyrion.
Oh, then Arya's queen.
That's actually true. Actually, I forgot about that.
So that's it. Yeah. So we still have our, we can debate about this stuff forever, but we got
it's fun to debate. I agree.
The more people that are listening to this on their drive in the car and going like, I want to get up and go to work. We need to cut this short. We will be back next Sunday to do more Game of Thrones reactions and talk. We're here every Friday for the All Things Nerd podcast, talking about nerd and geek and pop culture. We're here on Wednesdays for the Smack Talk podcast, talking about wrestling. That all is streamed live at twitch.tv/Malice Corp. So come join us for that stuff. Make sure to subscribe when you're here, or follow rather. That's free for you to do. If you have Twitch Prime, means you have Amazon Prime, which means that you can do a free subscription every 30 days to help out a channel. But before we get out of here, we like talking Game of Thrones with you guys. So come talk with us on social media, follow us on Twitter and stuff like that. Let's talk about where you can follow all the great people that are here on the cast. IC Zoro, where can people come talk with you outside of this cast?
Pretty easy. At IC Zoro on YouTube, not YouTube, sorry. Twitter, Instagram, and PlayStation Network. Yeah, well, soon. I've also recently started playing World of Warcraft again, so Silverhand server character's name is on the Alliance side.
Okay. And Mrs. Malice, where can people follow you and chit chat both Walking Dead and Game of Thrones with you?
At Walking Dead Mal1 on Twitter.
Okay, Bearded Master, where can people follow you to talk wrestling and Game of Thrones?
You can follow me. Obviously, it's posted Malice Smack Talk on Twitter, as well as Malice Corp Smack on Instagram. And you can also follow me personally at A Bearded Master at Twitter and Instagram. It's always talking wrestling, pop culture. And if you've seen Endgame, hit me up looking for people to talk to that I don't have to worry about giving spoilers away to.
And Super Hoovian Freak, where can people follow you?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Super Hoovian Nut. And you can come talk to me about Game of Thrones. I'm hitting the trifecta of emotions this weekend. With the Endgame, this, and then we had the Supernatural finale for season 14, which ended tragically as well. So it's just like boom, boom, boom. I'm a wreck. So if you want to come commiserate with me, come find me on Twitter.
Awesome. And I'm going to give you once again a couple places that you can follow us. This podcast is brought to you by the main home site of malice-corp.com. There for any previous podcasts that you want to listen to. Check us out on Stitcher. Check us out on iTunes. Check us out on Google Podcasts. Just look for Malice Corp. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you'll find all different types of things having to do with comic books and all types of stuff. We're here live all the time on Twitch, twitch.tv/Malice Corp. If you really, really want to help us out, you can also head over to YouTube, youtube.com/C/Malice Corp, and subscribe while you're over there. And if you guys want to interact with us anytime, you can jump over on Twitter at All Nerd Podcast, or you can actually head over to Facebook. Go to facebook.com/groups/All Things Nerd Podcasts. And we like talking about all different types of stuff there, throwing up memes and GIFs and just having a lot of fun. So come check us out over there. If you guys want to follow me, Head over to Twitter at @mest_Malice Corp is my name. And on Instagram, I'm mest5150. So once again, thank you guys so much for joining us on tonight's cast. Thank you for sticking it out for the extra 20, 30 minutes.